Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where you're looking at my face right now, but not for too long, don't you worry. This is those kind of videos where I give a bit of feedback, my opinion on something, and the something this time, the subject, is the GTWS, the Gran Turismo World Series. Now, there's a lot of issues there in my opinion. Some have been built up, some have changed over the years of course, and some have been there from the very beginning in 2018. For those that are new to the channel, potentially don't know my background, of course, I've been involved in esports for quite a while. In GT Sport, I went to literally the most live finals, I believe, out of anyone, or at least joint highest there, competing for both Audi and the UK in terms of the Nations Cup in 2018 and 2019, respectively. So I've been there, I've done that at the top, and I want to do it as a casual basis as well. So there's lots to talk about in this video. What I'm going to do now is remove my face because you don't want to see that. And I'm going to put footage on in the background about each subject area that is probably a problem, not probably a problem, is a problem in my opinion, but also present a solution to those problems where I can, and potentially if I can't, maybe you guys can in the comments. Do let me know your feedback. Of course, do keep it polite in the comments. Some things that I may like or want aren't necessarily what you want, but I love to hear them. I love to hear your opinions, and just be nice to each other as well in the comments. That's it for my face, so let's jump to the first problem. So let's kick off with the first problem then, which is involving your driver rating and which league you go in. So if you're new to the GTWS, there are 3 leagues. You have GT1, GT2 and GT3. Now, I'm going to talk about it from my perspective first of all. I can't really talk about it from a GT2 and GT3 perspective. So if you are in that league, do let me know in the comments your feedback in terms of the different rounds. So for those that don't know, in GT2 and GT3, you potentially use different cars to the GT1 league. In the manufacturer series, for example, some rounds are Group 4 for the lower leagues, but all of the races in GT1 are all Group 3 leagues. For me, there's a bit of an issue there, to be honest with you, because why does one league get one set and the other league gets the other set? Why is there a difference? There must be an issue there somewhere that the other leagues have to deal with. But I don't know this. I don't race in them, so I'm just leaving that out there. What I will talk about, though, is the GT1 league, and it's only having 3 time slots. So for those that don't know, on a Wednesday, in terms of the GT1 league, we get to race in terms of the British summertime time. It's 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, okay? Now, for me personally, I work, so of course you've got to knock off the 6 o'clock one straight away. Potentially you can get home for the 8 o'clock one and do it, and potentially the 10 o'clock. However, in the GT2 and 3 leagues, you also get a 9 o'clock race in there as well, which for me personally would be far more suitable. I could do the 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock race and have a bit of fun in an evening. But this is not available for GT1 players, and quite a few of the GT1 players are wondering why, because effectively we are penalised from not wanting to compete to try and get an esports spot, but we just want to race, but we're not allowed to because we only have 3 time slots. It's a bit weird, to be honest with you. On a Saturday, it's a similar situation, but this time it's 3, 5 and 7 o'clock in terms of British summertime, whereas for the GT2 and GT3 leagues, they have 10 slots. You know, it starts at 9 a.m. and finishes at that same time as 7 p.m. So they have a whole day of racing. Now, on a Saturday especially, that's a day where I would love to start racing at 10 a.m. and if I'm not doing anything for that day, finish at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. and have a good day of racing in the manufacturer series. Or if I got family or friends or got an event in the afternoon, to have a quick race in the morning and then enjoy the afternoon doing what I might want to do or have to do or need to do. Again, I can't do this because I'm in the GT1 league. It's a bit annoying, to be honest with you, because I'm not trying to compete for an esports slot, and I feel it's been done this way to really get the top players into these lobbies to really sort of basically have fewer lobbies. The strength of field then is stronger, and the points issues that exist shouldn't exist. Okay, so for me personally, I don't want to take part in esports, so why am I limited? I've got a choice now. Do I not take part at all, which is what I mostly do at the moment, which is a bit frustrating because some rounds I do want to do. I join a different region because there is actually no rules against it. I could go and join a different region. However, there is lag and ping, and then I potentially could impact other people's races in other regions, which is bad in itself because if I end up in a top split and I push a car off because of lag, that's on me. It's not on them, and they could potentially lose a spot. Alternatively, I could tank my DR. What do I mean by tank my DR? It means I would drop my driver rating from A+ down to B so I could take part in the additional slots that are available. Once again, that's not fun for those drivers that are in that driver slot, time slot, because suddenly they've got an A+ driver racing a B-rated driver. There's only one winner there, in my opinion, and again, it's not good. So there's 3 choices, and all 3 choices are bad there, in my opinion. I'm not trying to compete for the esports, so why am I impacted? Big problem there, the time slots. We will talk about the solution in a little bit, but we're going to talk about the other problems first, because I believe the solution for this solves a lot of other problems as well in terms of GTWS. So we've talked about not qualifying, but let's look at those that are trying to qualify, and you can see them in the background now. We've got Serrano, Gallo, De Bruyne, Gillian, Koke. They're currently in the top 5 places in EMEA because it's currently 5 places that do qualify for EMEA. Now, first of all, let's talk about the fact that points are still a significant issue. They are still a significant issue, and they will always be an issue, in my opinion, unless it's fixed. Now, we're going to get onto the point solution later on in this video. I've talked about it before in previous videos, so I'm not going to go into further details with the points problem. However, we're also going to talk about the 3 time slot issue, because somebody could win the 3rd time slot top split every single race, right? Okay, they could do all 6 rounds, win that top split 3rd time slot every single time, and they won't qualify. That is an issue, in my opinion, because these people may practice thinking that doing the 3rd time slot is okay, and there's just no point to it because they can't qualify. So, what am I getting at here? Well, it's an issue. The fact that these time slots exist is an issue, because if you can't qualify, what's the point of them even existing? Now, you're probably going to go, Tidge, weren't you just complaining about having too few time slots and you want many? And wouldn't many then cause an additional problem? Yes, it would. However, I'm trying to identify a problem for those that are trying to qualify, and I've experienced this issue myself when I was trying to qualify in the past, where different lobbies offer different points. Now, on top of that, what can also happen is time slots can now be manipulated more easily and more freely. So what you potentially could happen, let's just come up with a theoretical example. South America. Okay, maybe you've got a few European drivers who aren't trying to compete in Nations Cup. You said to them, don't enter a Nations Cup race. Come to South America, and I want you to only enter time slot 3 on your best DR account. Obviously, you've built up a DR account, got it to whatever, 90k, 100k, and I want you to only enter time slot 3. Guess what? There is nothing in the rules that stops that. The European driver is not multi-accounting, therefore, you know, they can do that race. It's absolutely fine. And guess what? That person then gets a better lobby, and then they can race. Now, in the rules, obviously, you are meant to overtake where you can overtake. That has been put in. That happened because of an incident that happened actually involving me, where I decided not to overtake a driver in front because I didn't need to, and I didn't want to cause an issue, and that's how it ended up. And there's a few people who decided to do that as well, and it looks like a manipulation, but again, I didn't have to overtake. Other people were letting me by to catch up to this driver. Where's the manipulation in that? There is manipulation there. However, getting back to this, you can manipulate your time slots and potentially qualify in that manner. Now, there's not very many places for the Nations Cup, so it's very hard to do. Still a possibility, and I do expect to see it more in Manufacturer Series, where there is a potential of teams qualifying to try and hire those drivers or get those drivers who are not qualifying or not trying to qualify, but they could help get a teammate qualify. I can very much see that happening going forward. In addition to all of this, of course, is the fact that some of these settings you couldn't even practice. So what we saw was actually multi-accounting, even just to practice the settings. So Benelli, I believe, is the example I've seen on Twitter quite recently, and I know other people are doing it as well. So I'm not just singling out Benelli, but obviously it's been the biggest name that I've seen out there. It came to the European region to practice for the trial mountain race because nobody could practice the car settings. They gained an advantage. Polyphony Digital did delete their round of points. Still took away from other people getting those points though, so it's still an issue. But multi-accounting is a problem, and multi-accounting across regions is a problem. I would also argue that people underage at racing is an issue. So I believe Antonio is underage at the moment, and he's a very quick driver, you know, no question about it. Very quick, up there in P6 at the moment. But if you look at the points that Antonio's got right now, 452, 457, they're points somebody who can qualify could have gotten. So what you end up with is Antonio potentially could get, or will get disqualified, should I say, won't be able to go to the event, and maybe you were in that lobby, that race, and you got the next point down. Let's just, for example, say it was 434 for Veyrunes below, and somebody else now gets in the second slot and gets 450 and jumps you. Well, you should have got 452 in reality. Or should you? But their DR is higher. Lobby's been manipulated. It's not working quite right, is it, the championship? So there's definitely big issues here in terms of wanting to qualify. You need a bit of luck. You need a good lobby in the first place in terms of the points. And then in addition to that, we've got issues with multi-accounting and lobby manipulation happening. There is a solution to this, and it's also the same solution to the previous problem. I'm highlighting this problem first because I feel it needs highlighting. And you can also see the additional problem here. Look at those top 5 at the moment on this leaderboard, okay? They've all got 0 for round 5. Guess what? Those 5 people are also not going to be doing round 6 either, because they've already got the points. Now, if all 5 drivers are on 100k DR, and now the lobbies aren't getting quite strong, they've guaranteed their qualification spot without even racing. That is an issue in itself, isn't it? So we're seeing problems here already with this scenario, and it's always been a problem as well. So I've highlighted this problem here for those that want to qualify, because there's a lot of issues there. And I've highlighted it for the ones that don't want to qualify, because there's issues there. Once again, we will jump to the solution soon. There's a couple more problems I want to highlight first, and then we'll start getting into the solutions, which I believe will help the championship grow and expand and allow other people and more people to compete in a fair and fun environment. Next up then, we've got heavy damage. Now, this has been tried and tried and tried again and again and again. And I feel it doesn't solve any problem at all. It just causes problems. So we always have issues with network connections, network issues in Gran Turismo. And we've also got the ping pong physics. So if 2 cars hit, that it just increasingly expands the energy. So the further back, so let's just say 2 cars hit, next one hits, that's a bigger hit. The next one behind hits, that's an even bigger hit than the first one. And cars just get fired off everywhere. It causes huge damage. Now, we have a ghosting system as well in Gran Turismo, so if the ghosting doesn't work and suddenly you hit them, heavy damage, your race is over. If the ghosting system does work, happy days! You don't get heavy damage, you carry on with your race. The heavy damage, I'm not sure what it solves, okay, because people are still going to race and race hard if they are trying to qualify or trying to gain a position in this championship, knowing for the fact that they can also race again. But it also doesn't solve is dirty drivers, because dirty drivers, no matter what, will just still hitting you off. And all they're doing is damaging your car, and let's just say if you had light damage, you may be able to recover. With heavy damage, you can't do that. We also have to talk about the lag and ping issues, so if there's a bit of lag in terms of the event, the lobby, maybe the servers just have a bit of a hiccup, that can force the car to go forward and backs and just go a little bit all over the place. And again, cause a crash and cause damage, and it's a crash you can't recover from. Heavy damage, for me personally, just needs to leave the GTWS. It's not fit for purpose, in my opinion. If it was a much longer race and you were pitting, yes, okay, heavy damage has its place. But in this situation, light damage, I think, is the best way to go about it. Your car is damaged initially, you do lose time, and then it repairs itself, and you can at least have a fun end to the race. Or at least a potential fun end to the race. And for me, heavy damage is also an issue. On top of that, I actually want to say that settings in general are a bit of an issue. So what I'm talking about here is lately, or recently, there was a Toyota Cup race in terms of Suzuka, the GR86, and I think the Subaru BRZ was in there as well. I didn't participate in it, but again, people were messaging in our Discord and talking about it on Twitter. So what happened there was that a few drivers were able to do 2 qualifying laps, which is significant in a combo where, or in any race actually at the moment, where tyre heat is a factor. Normally the second lap is normally a quicker lap. So quite a lot of drivers couldn't do 2 laps, they could only do 1 lap. That is a problem. Why aren't settings being thoroughly tested beforehand? If the settings don't work in terms of the championship, it breeds a sense of distrust and not wanting to do the championship because they believe the settings are unfair and are luck based, because it is very much lucky who goes out first when you leave the pits. For me, fully test the settings, make sure everybody has the same opportunity to qualify, same amount of laps, everybody has the same environment and the ability to actually have a good race. That is critical, in my opinion, to these. You got to think back as well to the Honda race that happened in terms of the Nations Cup. That was horrendous. You actually qualified longer than the actual race. 5-lap race. Mind-blowing how bad that race actually was. So settings really need to be looked at in terms of how much time people want to invest or actually want to participate and what they get out of it. Because at the moment, if qualifying settings are wrong, race settings are wrong, there is a significant issue there and it definitely does need resolving. So let's have a look at the problems then that I've talked about. We've talked about the time slots for A plus and A. We only get 3 time slots. It's pretty unfair, to be honest with you, and we have to manipulate our DR or go to a different region to race at other times where we should really be able to race at the same time. Qualifying, in terms of qualifying for the Nations Cup, the Manufacturer Series, is a lot based on luck in terms of your lobbies, the points. The points is essentially manipulated, and we have multi-accounting issues happening there as well. And finally, heavy damage, race settings in general, they just seem to be a bit all over the place. I'm not a fan of heavy damage. I never have been in Gran Turismo. I don't think it suits it at all. And in terms of the race settings, we've got random qualifying sessions happening, random race settings happening as well. So we have problems there. First of all, let's talk about the first solution. And what I would say is the biggest solution to a lot of the problems that are currently taking place. And that is the fact that we've got this GT1, GT2 and GT3 league. Okay. Now, with the GT1 league, it includes those trying to qualify and those that just want to race. Why don't we just have an esports league? Hear me out, folks. GT1, GT2, GT3. Let anybody take part in that. Multi-account if you want, because we do get credits in there and everyone will want to get credits on multiple accounts potentially. Let multi-accounting happening in GT1, GT2, GT3 leagues. They're for fun. They're for casuals. I'm a casual. Let us enjoy these leagues. Now, for esports and qualifying, let's have one time slot, one slot for them to race. So GT1, GT2, GT3 all share the same time slots. Let's just say there are 9 time slots. And the reason I say 9 and not 10 is because one time slot is specifically for the esports league. And what I'm saying here is that no other league will happen at that time. It should create a very stable server for the esports league. You can steward that race. There is no reason why the top split cannot be stewarded, even the top 2 splits potentially, because you know when it's going to happen. It's a bit like the top 16 superstar races and the top 24 superstar races of old. You know when it's going to happen. PD can record replays, they can sanction against people who enter, and arguably then you can have the contract which says if you're entering this league, you have to meet the criteria. You have to be above the age limit. You have to be able to go to the online event, the offline events, the live events. You have to meet the criteria of country participation. You can have region restrictions and even more restrictions. So you have to live in this region to be able to take part. You start to be able to restrict it while also not restricting the player base in terms of when they can race in the GT1, GT2, GT3 league. In my opinion, that works. Now, some people are going to say one shot. They hate it. Now, to be honest with you, I can understand the hatred towards one shot, but I'm talking about the esports league only. I don't know of an esports tournament anywhere really where there is multiple shots. So if we look at other racing games, ACC, when there's a race, it's a one chance race. Okay, they don't restart the race, or you don't get another chance at the race. It's one chance. Same for some of the iRacing esports events. It's one chance. It's one shot. They're both stewarded as well, which is very helpful in terms of bad behavior. Why is GT different? You know, even in real life, Formula 1, they don't restart the race, do they? They carry on the race, and you probably go, they red flag it. But they're in, you know, it's the set drivers. They're in that race. The race continues from that point. It's not a total restart. Nearly every single racing series is one shot. And we just have this really weird system for esports in Gran Turismo where there's multiple shots. Please remember as well, when it was one shot, because it originally was one shot, the Gran Turismo tournament, essentially, the esports, it originally was one shot. I was a victim of the one shot, and I still want it. So to explain this again, that I was trying to get Peugeot to qualify for the live events. We entered the final race of the season at Interlagos. 4 people got disconnected in the top 24 superstar race. I was one of the 4. I was one of the fastest worldwide at Interlagos at the time in the Peugeot RCZ. There was every single chance I was going to qualify Peugeot, but unfortunately I got disconnected. I still believe in one shot based on that. It creates also an additional thing that you may want to experience in terms of esports: nervousness, pressure, excitement, build up. And guess what? If there's one time slot, live stream it. Live stream it so we can all watch it. We can take part in, let's just say there's 4 events before it. We watch the esports and then we get 4 more chances after it to race in the GT1 league. But we can watch the very best players race the same combo we've been trying in the day. It also helps the esport players. If they have an alternative account, they can enter GT1 League and just have a bit of fun. It does help them. So for me personally, an esports time slot solely there for them in terms of an esports league as well would benefit massively, in my opinion. I really would love to see that and allow GT1 players to play when everybody else is allowed to play. That would benefit massively, in my opinion. The settings should be the same as well, and I just think that would solve so many problems. You can't multi-account if you literally have one time slot. You can multi-account on the GT1 leagues, but they don't contribute to the live events. In my opinion, that would work so well, and I'm a firm believer of that. So the point system, I'm only going to touch on this briefly. I've done videos on this before, and I'm showing you my theoretical example in the background here that you can see. So there is an overlap here in terms of strength. So this is average strength of a lobby, and it's really straightforward this. It just has, each position has a set amount of points, and then you apply a factor based on the strength of field. I don't know what is with Gran Turismo. There's always this weird multiplier that happens. So even if you're in split 1, like literally if you get last, then you're going to end up being beaten by split 10, for example, which is really weird. I don't quite understand it, because that person would probably easily win that split 10, that is, if they were in there. But even so, let me just explain this quickly. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Across the top, strength of field, of course. So 100,000 KDR for all 20 drivers that are in there. I mean, we're even talking to 20 drivers here. Obviously, it's down to 16 now, and we've even got the old school points area, 3,000. But, for example, again, here we are. So the overlap here, P1 split 2 is roughly P17. But that's because there's a 10k difference. That's a significant difference in strength. If we suddenly go to 95, and look at that, 498. Now it's around this area. Okay, go to 98,000. Maybe it's really close. Oh, suddenly it's up here. It starts to make sense. If these two lobbies are that close, that would make perfect sense that the overlap is stronger. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. You know, put it back to 90,000 and we're there. And as you go down here, for example, we can see down here, it's very close overlap where it's 1,000. But that's right. And this is a progression system as well. So you can see here, points for a win is 60. So I came up with this point system here, 3 points per position essentially. And then you add a multiplier and you can see that sort of thing there. And you can change this and make it stronger or weaker, do whatever you like. But I really do feel the point system needs changing as well. I feel the esports league, that helps it massively. This would add to it and actually create a system of progression there for everybody in terms of the GT1 league. But it would also help the esports league because guess what? If the points are solved, we have no split 2 issue at all. Or if there is a split 2 issue, if they're both 100k lobbies, that's fair enough. They're both 100k lobbies. They should be equal strength. There should be an overlap and people should be fighting to improve. Finally then, we did talk briefly about heavy damage. Quite an easy solution. Turn it off, put it on light in my opinion. But the race settings do need testing a little bit more in my opinion. The fact that we had the qualifying issue and the race issue, I feel like there needs to be some beta testers or potentially more examples in the exhibition season of rounds that don't work, do work, maybe need altering slightly, and use those rounds that have been used before that have worked well to bring them into the championship so that we know the settings going forward do work and bring confidence to the championship. Now, GTWS isn't all bad. It may seem like doom and gloom because I've highlighted some problems here, but it's been brilliant. You know, we can look at the credit reward system that's now in the game. That's brilliant. You get loads of credits for competing in GTWS. I love competing in it as well, especially the manufacturer series. I love the varied manufacturers in there. It makes for a fantastic race. I'd just like to do more races. I just can't because of the time slots, which is why I've made this video. Unfortunately, folks, that is going to be it in terms of this video. Do let me know your comments and feedback in the comments. Do let me know your... Yeah, I can't even say it right now. It's very late now at this moment in time. But yeah, do let me know your feedback in the comments, like your experiences, what you would change, what you feel would make it better. Because I'm always interested, you know. I'm only looking at it from my perspective. It may be the wrong perspective. It may be a minority of a perspective. Hearing your opinions and feedback is also, like, honestly, it's awesome to read. And I do read every single comment. Once again, this is it for me, folks. Big thank you for watching. 2 videos there to check out, including my logo to subscribe and 2 companies down below there to check out that do help the channel out massively. And I do get a kickback from those as well. Once again, a big thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.